Hello everyone, this is Rebecca Jane from yogawithrebeccajane.com and welcome to our 10-minute Happy Hips class where we'll be concentrating on our external rotation and internal rotation. So we'll get started. So coming onto your hands and knees, let's start with a child's pose with the wide knees. Knees about as wide as the mat, big toes are touching, and press back into a child's pose. Forearms on the ground, forehead on the ground, and just take a few moments here just to loosen up those hips a little bit, warming them up. We'll be working on those joints, which for many of us, we really struggle with tight hips just because we sit a lot, the way we live our lives. So let's just take a few breaths in and take a few breaths out. And then inhale, lift up nice and tall, come onto all fours, bring your knees in so that now they're underneath your hips, shoulders over your wrists. We're going to do something, a simple hip release exercise where you pick your left foot off the ground, keep your knee on the ground, and just cross it over your right ankle and leave it there. That's where it stays. Now take your left knee out, bring it down just a touch and open it a little bit wider. And from here, we're going to push your hip to the left, so the left hip to the left, concentrating on the left side, and then press back on a diagonal towards the left corner of your mat, the bottom left corner, and lift back up. We're going to do this a few more times, a dynamic stretch, just to kind of get that hip, open up the hip a little bit, very gentle. And feel free to just go back and forth and push the hip a little further out, or you might want to take the hip to the left first, circle it around, and then sit back. So it's a little bit of a circle. You're creating a half circle with that hip joint. So this is a nice way just again, warm it up, warm up the hips. And then let's come back up to all fours and take your left foot uncross that left foot and then cross your right foot over the ankle. And now we're working on the right side. So the right hip, bring your right knee slightly back, stagger the right knee so that it's slightly behind your left knee. And then press your right hip out first and then press back. Any knee issues, if this hurts your knees, just do it without the cross of uncross the ankles. And then press back again. So what we're doing is we're on this little diagonal here. Inhaling, lifting up. And then one more time, but take your hip to the right first, circle it halfway, and then press back. This should feel pretty nice. And then inhale back up and uncross that right leg. Curl the toes under, exhale into a downward dog. Oh, this is a great stretch. Just take your hips and sway them from side to side. Loosen up your neck, loosen up your hips, and then lower your knees back down. So sit on your heels for a moment, and if this isn't working for you, just lift up and just take a moment here. Take a breath in, and then lift up off your heels and step your right foot forward into a lunge. So now we're making sure the right knee is over the right ankle. Try and create a 90-degree angle with both legs. Hands on the right thigh. Take your tailbone slightly, tuck it under, and then lean forward. Knee and ankle stay on top of, the knee stays on top of the ankle. And then lift back up to neutral. And then inhale forward and then lift up. And then inhale forward and exhale, lift up. Inhale forward. So again, working this hip joint. It's such a nice feeling when you work your hips. It might be a little uncomfortable at first, but once you release. And then take your right knee back. You can always put something underneath your knees, like a blanket, or double up the mat. Then step your left foot forward now into that lunge. So first get the lunge, get yourself into this 90-degree shape, both legs, right hip over that right knee. Tuck your tailbone slightly under, so there's a drawing under of your tailbone. Hands on your left thigh, breathe in and lean forward. So you might have to adjust your front foot a little bit, and then exhale, lift up. Exhale, lift up. Exhale, so it's inhale forward, exhale, lift up. Inhaling and exhaling. If you do it the opposite, doesn't matter. Either way, you just have half of a breath up and half of a breath down. So he's loosening up these hip joints. One more set. And then let's take your left leg back, and you could try to do it without your hands. Place your hands back on the ground, exhaling, downward dog. And take just a few breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. Whew. Okay, so come onto your hands and knees. And one more position we're going in. It's called a figure 4. So what we'll do is I'm going to show you from this side, but you can face me and do it this way. You're going to create a figure 90-degree angle with your right leg and your back leg. So what your back leg is at a 90-degree angle, front leg is at a 90-degree angle. Your shin, front shin, we'll start with the right leg, is exactly in line with the front of the mat. Take your hands, I'm going to swing around now so you can actually see me from the front. So it's right there, parallel to the front of the mat. Hands on either side, on both sides of your leg. And rather than leaning to the right, see if you can sit up tall here. And I know there's some restrictions in this hip for many of us. So don't force it, just kind of try and get yourself up right. And then walk your hands forward and open them wide. So they're not in line with your shoulders or out to the sides. And you're going to take a breath in and let yourself drop downward first, and then push your chest forward. So as if there's a string attached to the center of your chest, and press your chest forward. Soften the shoulders down and press without your hands. Press your left hip down, right bottom cheek down. So you're working this, especially that left hip at this point. Any knee issues, bring the foot in a little bit closer. Flex both feet. That protects your knee. And then lift yourself back up. And we'll just do the other side. So left side, come into that 90-degree shape. Figure 4, that's another way of describing it. Once you settle in, flex both feet. I know you have to kind of adjust and make sure, because once you're settled here, leave yourself as you are. Fingertips out to the side so you can bring yourself to as tall as possible. And then press back. You're trying to even out the right leg with the left, even though this right leg is off the ground. Then walk your hands forward. Hands out to the sides. So rather than inward, bring them out on your fingertips and take a breath in. And as you breathe out, lower down, but lift your chest forward as your pubic bone presses back. And let the breath flow here. So you're not laying down on your chest or on that left leg, because that kind of takes away from all the stretching in the hip joint. So, and then walk your hands back up. So this is a safer way of doing a pigeon pose. The traditional pigeon pose in yoga can be quite intense for many of us, including myself at times. If you have any kind of knee issues or your hips are very tight. And here we are. We're now able to, you might find, okay, I feel a little bit freer. Just 3 exercises you can do that, you know, every other day or maybe twice a week to start to gently loosen them up. And with that, it increases your mobility, your range of motion. You can walk easier. You don't feel so tight. And also when we don't feel so tight, we actually feel better. So thank you so much for being with me. This is Rebecca Jane from yogawithrebeccajane.com. Namaste, everyone. I'll see you soon.